So, you want to make some growls? Alright, hi guys, my name is Hey guys, my name is Agenda101, and today I'm going to show you how to make very squelchy growls, like the ones in my new track, Spectral Artillery, which is out now on Rushdown. Now the thing is, this isn't like a very specific technique that requires something specific, it's just a very basic sound design because I primarily rely a lot on resampling already available material. So see it less as like some kind of like special technique that only I know and that I want to share with the world, and rather more like a sort of introductory to how you could resample things into a wavetable synthesizer, like for example in our case, Vital. So yeah, let's get started. So first of all, pick your wavetable synthesizer of choice. In my case, it's gonna be Vital because it's free. If you don't have Vital, why not? If you remember from my own sample pack breakdown video, which you can also watch somewhere, the eye thing is over there, I did say that the reason why my additive and subtractive synthesis folder was so big is because I realized that additive and subtractive synthesis is the perfect material to resample into a wavetable synth. We're just gonna pick some random note, like let's say we press, yeah, it's just D sharp for example. Yeah, now we just find any kind of material that could sound cool. You could absolutely import something that has pitch bending. Only thing is that, well, when you move it around. So yeah, as you can see, it pitches up and down. So you can actually fix that by actually selecting a certain phase style. So now everything is in one key. Right, you can absolutely do that, but if you want to have like the full texturized characteristics of whatever you want to resample, better pick something that's tonal and not doing pitch bendy stuff. Anyhow, we just try and see what works. I'm just gonna make a very basic shape over here. That could be quite interesting for harmonics later on. Okay, as you're going to notice, this is going to have a lot of jump cuts because I need to like find stuff and see if it works or not. So yeah, there's going to be jump cuts. It is what it is. That's sound design, baby. You can edit the wavetable as well if you want to, but I usually don't really touch that section. I just tend to move this slider and this effect with the LFO. Okay, that sounds interesting. Alright, now we can already start playing around with the warping modules over here. What I tend to use for very squelchy growls is the bend modes put to the left. I don't know if that's negative or positive bending, but as you can see, it makes everything either bubbly or squelchy. Let's pick something else. Let's try this. Okay. The only thing that I would really touch on the wavetable editor is those two things, which are the blend styles. And also what happens to the phases of every single frame. Alright, let's try again with bend. Okay. Alright, let's see how it sounds in context. Yeah, perhaps I should probably change that out. That could be interesting. Yeah, let's make some like nice squelchy like harmonic layer. Or I could also play around with the time scale. Yeah, I'm gonna play around with the time skew. Oh, that sounds cool. Actually, I should probably do one more thing, and that is to turn off the randomization over here. If you don't know what randomization does on a wavetable synthesizer, the oscillator, if you have the randomness on 100, that means that the phase position is going to be random every single time you press a note. So, for example, in one instance, it's going to start over here. In another note, it's probably going to start over there, or over here, or over there, or here, or there, or there. You don't know. You cannot really predict it. And by turning that off, you essentially say, okay, I want it to always start at that position over here. But you can also select the starting position. Like, for example, if you wanted to start over here, you can, put it to 180, right? That means that it's going to always start over here, and then it's going to follow the waveform like that. So yeah, the characteristics of a growl is that it has a very vowel-ish movement, and usually that is being done with a high-pass filter with a peak right here. Right? And then you just kind of automate it. Not that much. It gets that vowel movement, right? We don't have a sub-oscillator in Vital, and we're essentially cutting off the low end. We don't have low end. Who could have thought? What I started doing instead was that instead of actually doing all the processing linearly, so that means everything goes first to filter 1, then to filter 2, what I started doing was running everything in parallel, meaning that everything goes to filter 1, but also to filter 2 in parallel, meaning that one is going to have the vowel movements and the other one's going to have the other filter, and they're going to add up, right? So you could still have some low end, assuming you don't cut it off right there. If I were to do it with a filter right there, then we're going to have a bandpass. So yeah, because I'm a freak, more movement, more filter movement. In this time, I'm actually going to use some notches. Nice. That was a voice crack. One little trick that I can show you, you can go to advanced. You can do a shape like this with the LFO and put it on transpose, and it makes the growl better. It adds a nice punch, a nice impact to your growl. So yeah. Now, more filter movements. Here you can really go crazy and experiment all you want. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that sounds interesting. All right. Whew. There's that one frequency right there. Oh, damn. We could also do what's essentially a static chorus effect, but done with a flanger, because flanger is better than static chorus. And we're essentially done in Vital. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Now, as I said, everything is still in mono. So we need to add some stereo so that it sounds wide and big. Now, there are a few methods on how you can do that. The most common one being you add chorus. Kind of like that. Or you actually, what I used to do is, I used 2 unison voices, and I put the detune on 5%, 6%, stuff like that. And you get a pretty nice wide sound. There's, however, one problem with that, and that is when I try to collapse this growl into mono. So, hear what happens. Everything becomes very chorusy, and that has to do with, how detuning actually works, and that is that instead of playing one note, you're essentially playing 2 notes, but those 2 notes are slightly, detuned, meaning that one is slightly played higher and the other one slightly played lower. And that, in turn, is going to cause some interference, right? Which is what makes this very strange chorusy effect. I mean, if you're into that, good for you. But the thing is, we've made a growl that has a lot of texture, and because of that interference, that texture essentially has been lost. Yeah, everything kind of like bands together, and that nice squelchy texture is gone. It comes back when we put into stereo again, but there are a lot of instances where your tracks are going to be played in mono. For example, when you have your phone and you're listening to your track in phone speakers, right? Because those are mono. What can we do against that? Well, in my opinion, the best way to add stereo to a sound is with dimension expansion. You may or may not have watched A5's, I think it was the DIY reverb tutorial, where he basically used convolution to create all sorts of very weird and strange effects. And one of those effects was a dimension expander. And the thing about the dimension expander is that it's very, very smart. The reason for that is because the only thing that we're really adding is a side signal to our mono signal. Right, we have stereo, right? However, if we collapse it to mono, we only get the mono signal of the growl, meaning that the texture is still preserved, right? And the only thing that really disappears is the side signal made by the dimension expander. I might butcher the explanation, but bear with me. So the reason for that is because since we have a mono signal, which is this growl right here. Now, mono means that both left and right channels are playing the exact same thing in the exact same phase. So that means there is no interference between both channels, right? That's why when we collapse a mono signal into mono, nothing happens. What the dimension expander does is it inverts the phase of one channel. For example, in this case, I'm inverting the right channel, for example, right? And you can notice that. It sounds like it's coming from behind you. What this essentially means is that you still have both channels playing the same thing, but one channel is phase inverted by 180 degrees, meaning that when I collapse this into mono, we're still playing stuff. I'm playing a note, but we have silence because of this very cool thing called interference, which is a thing in physics and involves waves. Essentially, when two waves collide with each other, and they're the same wave, but the one is basically flipped on its head. When they meet, they basically cancel each other out, meaning that in this case, we get silence. And that's exactly what is happening. So we are basically combining both left and right channels into one, and because they are opposites, they cancel out, and we get nothing. And that's perfect for stereo because we can essentially add a side signal, which we get from the mid signal, and when we collapse it to mono, the only thing that disappears is the side signal, but the mono signal is still there. In this case, I'm not actually going to use the dimension expander from Xfer. The reason for that is because the dimension expander from Xfer actually has a lot more echoes, because that's the other factor of a dimension expander, which is, on the side signal, we actually add a delay. The reason for that is because if we don't add a delay, then one channel, which is going to be either the left or the right channel, is gonna play louder than the other one, and that's not what we want. I've made my own dimension expander because I can. So yeah, I just invert the phase of one channel. I add slightly delay, roughly 30 milliseconds. And we get some nice stereo. Anyhow, stereo rambling aside, we use a dimension expander, and at that point, we just treat it like a growl. That means you can use multiband compression to slightly thicken it up. Do not forget the EQ. Yeah, there was just one frequency, this guy. Ow. That's nice. What else can we add? Camel Crusher. Why not? Adds a bit of distortion to the entire thing. Actually, what I can add is mid-side OTT. It's basically two OTTs. One is affecting the mid channel and the other one the side channel. And because we have stereo, because of the dimension expander, we can actually affect those separately. And I'm actually going to put this very, very low. Like that. And why not add another one at the end? Because we're crazy. Just to catch a few peaks that are too annoying to handle. So that means attack and RMS at 0. I'm gonna put this to 2. And that's essentially it. That's how I usually make my growls. Now, of course, it can go multiple steps further. Like, for example, sure, we have this adoration, but there's this cool thing in both Vital and Serum called macros. So it's like little knobs that you can play around with, and you can assign them to the wavetable positions of your oscillators. That means that you can play around and get different results. I'm gonna put these on every single one. This one gonna go over here. Yeah. Whoa. So yeah. Now, because we used an LFO, which, yeah, its frequency is linked to the BPM of our project, we can essentially also play around with the tempo of the project and either slow down or speed up the ground. So depending on your taste. You can slow down or speed up your growl as you see fit, right? For example, let's put it on 111. And you know what? Because I want to, let's put it on all ones. Nice. There it is. That's how I make growls. So, yeah, that has been it. That's cool. I mean, there really is nothing else to it. You really have to experiment a lot when it comes to, yeah, making growls because, yeah, it's sound design. Everything is supposed to be experimental. And you just have to try out and try again and again and again until you kind of get good results. But yeah, that has been it. That's how I make my growls, and that's how you can make some growls. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that small little venture into the growliness of... What am I saying? So yeah, if you like that video, make sure to like, subscribe, and also check out my new track, Spectral Artillery, which is out now on Rushdown on their new Colors Volume 6 compilation. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something from today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya. So okay, just a quick note, there's a thunderstorm outside. I'm not entirely sure if that's gonna fry my PC, so...